Here we go.
It's the Benjamin Dixon Show.
Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is
not merely peace in our time, but peace in all time.
I have no fear whatsoever of anybody or anything.
Did you think no one was watching?
Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
your mission.
Suppose we go where no man has gone before.
To reclaim the American dream.
To be given the right of human beings to be afforded equal rights and equal opportunities.
It's the Benjamin Dixon Show. If you're hearing his voice, you're hearing the voice of reason.
You certainly come to the right place.
Welcome aboard, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Benjamin Dixon Show, and I am your host, Benjamin Dixon. It is Monday, August 24th, 2015. I want to thank you for joining us this morning. It has been a hectic morning, a lot of stuff happening in the news, a lot happening in the news internationally, domestically, things happening politically. Of course, the Sunday morning shows, political shows where we get a insight into the mind, if you really dare to get insight into the mind of politicians vying to be the president of the United States. We have Donald Trump talking about immigration reform, Ted Cruz, likewise, Bobby Jindal joining in the conversation, all wanting to either repeal, amend, or redefine the 14th Amendment. You have Black Lives Matter, a new Campaign Zero, something that came out on Friday after our show where we debated whether or not Black Lives Matter should have definitive policies. No sooner than the show was over, I started getting tweets about policies that came out. So we had a chance to look at them over the weekend, and we want to discuss all of the different policies coming from Campaign Zero. And hopefully, if not this week, next week, I'm going to do my best to get in touch with DeRay McKesson to have him on the show to talk about all of the different policies that they came out with. I want to talk about the three Americans in France who prevented a terrorist attack on the train. And here in Boston, there was, I can't say attempted, but yeah, maybe I should say attempted, an attempted attack on first of all, I didn't even know they had a Pokemon World Championship. Now, I grew up with Power Rangers, right? I was in high school when Power Rangers first came out. I know nothing really about Pokemon except for I know a lot of grown men who are fascinated by it. Apparently, there's a world championship that takes place, and it took place here in Boston over the weekend, and there were two guys armed to attack and kill the winners. So that happened. So I briefly want to discuss that. So many things happening. Let me kick off with where do I begin? Let me touch on Jimmy Carter again. I talked about him a little bit on Friday. And I want to talk about Carter again because on Friday, I began to unpack the character of Jimmy Carter while he was president, and the same guy that he was while he was president, that's who he is now. On yesterday, even after his diagnosis of cancer that has spread to his brain, even after he's getting ready to take chemotherapy, Jimmy Carter still went and taught his Sunday school class, his regular Sunday school class on yesterday. I think that should just say volumes about his character, and more so about the people who really do all they can to destroy his legacy. Jimmy Carter, I'm sorry, I don't like getting into the measurement of who's a better religious person, who's a better Christian, or who's this or that. But I tell you one thing, Jimmy Carter is by far a greater human being than any of the Republicans who try to destroy his legacy, hands down. And the fact that a lot of Republicans like to wrap themselves and drape themselves in the Bible, they can't compare. They just can't compare to the moral fortitude and the character of Jimmy Carter, who in the face of cancer is still doing the good works that he's always done. So not much more to say about that. I mean, but accept that he's a fine example of a statesman and a human being. And I think it's high time. I will say this: it's high time that we fight back against all of the incessant narratives of trying to destroy his legacy, trying to destroy him for no other reason, ladies and gentlemen, than the fact that he was a Democratic president. I want you to understand clearly, if we judged presidents based on the tumultuous times or the difficulty of their presidency only, then I don't think that there's a single president, save a few, who are actually worth our love, I guess, are worth lauding. They don't attack. I want you to understand it. Conservatism does not attack someone because of who they really are. They attack someone simply because they are progressive or they are Democratic, period. And granted, you know, you could talk about how tough the times were. Well, hell, they're trying to make Ronald Reagan to be this great magnanimous hero that everyone should worship. And Reagan, quite frankly, did more to damage the country than almost any other president in modern history. So, you know, it's somebody said it's idolatry. Who said that? Somebody sent me a tweet and called it idolatry. But I mean, that's a religious connotation to simply they're ideologues. They are hyper partisan ideologues who, whether they believe what they say or not, they are willing to do anything possible, anything. There's no limit to what they would not do to keep and maintain the status quo and maintain the power structure of the United States of America. That's who we're dealing with. And so the person and character of Jimmy Carter is nothing more than an additional tactic, an additional target. They want to destroy his legacy. They want to destroy Bill Clinton's legacy, and they wanted to destroy Obama's presidency. And you can guarantee that as soon as he's out of office, they're going to do everything they can to destroy his legacy. That is what Republicans do, because they have to rewrite history for us to completely forget about all of the detrimental things that their presidents have done to us. And they do so by trying to make every other president look incompetent as George W. Bush was. That is, and you know, it is a political issue. I like Jimmy Carter as a human being, but the attacks that he's been under politically since he left office has all been political. It has all been about defaming his progressive roots and doing anything possible now, not just defaming his progressivism, but also about making evangelical voters so angry that they will never turn back and look at the Jimmy Carter presidency that they made happen in 1976. And what I said there has a lot embedded in it. There's a lot to unpack there. The fact that evangelicals, before they were even, when they were first active, the first thing they did was they helped get Jimmy Carter into the presidency. And then they turned on Jimmy Carter and all the stuff that I talk about on Friday. But notwithstanding everything else, Jimmy Carter is a hell of a man, if I could use that colloquial. He, in spite of his cancer, he went to church and taught his Sunday school class. And I think that deserves an applause. And once again, okay. That being said, I want to talk about also what we talked about on Friday, we talked about Black Lives Matter and whether or not they should have definitive policies. We saw last week that Hillary Clinton, the video of Hillary Clinton meeting with Black Lives Matter Boston, and it became more about, the video to me was all about the young man hearing his own voice, either that or simply not knowing what the policies were, maybe because at the time they did not have policies. And I think this is not in response to what happened. This has been in the works. I want to make sure that we attribute we attribute the cause of it correctly. This is something that they have been working on for a while, and I spoke with one of my contacts, and they let me know that this has been in the works. And I know this has been in the works because the original conversation I had with them was at least 2 months ago about this. I wanted to know where are the policies and who's working on it, and they've been working on it very quietly. And on Friday, after our show, this was released. I would have talked about it on Friday. I'm bringing it up on the screen for the people on YouTube, but those listening in the radio land. Here are 10 points. 10 points that Campaign Zero, which is not exactly Black Lives Matter. It's a different organization than Black Lives Matter. And I don't, we can go into that another time. But what's important is that this is something that I believe that Black Lives Matter, as well as anyone who is progressive. This is the thing that I said on that I continuously say. There's nothing that we can accomplish underneath the mantra of Black Lives Matter that will not positively affect every single American. And there's nothing that we can accomplish underneath the mantra of Black Lives Matter that would not be progressive. That's why there's a natural relationship that should occur between all things progressive, whether it's Hillary Clinton or, really progressive, let's say Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren-esque, people who really want to see America progress. There's a natural relationship and coalition that can be built and should be built around the American left and Black Lives Matter, which is why there's such a vehement opposition from conservatism against Black Lives Matter. And I'm going to bring this screen down real quick so I could talk to everyone. I want everyone to realize this. The number one opponents to Black Lives Matter, hang on, let me give a caveat. Notwithstanding the fact that there are still some progressives who have a problem with Black Lives Matter, clearly, right? And notwithstanding the fact that there are some progressives who are not only have a problem with Black Lives Matter, but they also have a problem with social justice in general. There are progressives who are the problem, who are part of the problem. But the overwhelming majority, and I cannot stress this enough, the overwhelming majority who oppose anything related to and connected to Black Lives Matter are conservatives. And so when I hear people from Black Lives Matter saying that they're not going to align with any political ideology, I think it's empty words attempting to impress their circle, which is why I'm glad I'm not a part of any circle. I'm just out here doing my own damn thing, right? And I'm just giving political commentary. I'm just observing, but I'm beyond the influence of having to impress my circle by saying things that sound impressive, but really aren't. Right? People who say that we're not Black Lives Matter doesn't have to align, is not politically affiliated. Well, that sounds good, right? And that sounds like you're conscious, and that sounds like you're above the political fray. But when you realize who your political adversaries are, the people who are going to do everything possible to stop this 10-point plan from Campaign Zero, you realize that that you have a solidified political opposition in the form of conservatism. And I cannot stress that enough. The people who are going to vote against this, the people who are going to do everything they can to stop any of these policies from becoming, any of these ideas from becoming policies, are overwhelmingly going to be conservative. Now, you will find some progressive assholes who are going to oppose this. Notwithstanding that, I absolutely know, I already know about 10 in my mind that I deal with on a regular basis who are going to oppose these type of policies. But the force, the legion of people who are going to fight against this tooth and nail are overwhelmingly conservative. So while you're wasting time trying to impress yourself saying that we're not going to be co-opted by any political party or we're not going to align with any political ideology, realize that you have a political ideology who is absolutely set against destroying everything about Black Lives Matter. And you have a natural affinity that you can be associated with in progressivism. All right. That being said, let's pull this up, and I want to go over this with some of our viewers and listeners. 10-point plan, and you could drill down. This is at joincampaignzero.org, and I want everyone to go there and read it for themselves. They're great examples of for every policy that they recommended. they brought examples from cities and states where it's actually working and performing well. And so what this is really about is really kind of like taking the best practices from across the country and solidifying it into something that we can push on a national level, which is why I think it's a great idea. Number one, in broken windows policing. To give you, for those of you who don't know what broken windows policing is, it simply says if you see a broken window and you don't do anything about it, then that's going to lead to more crime. And the reverse of that is if you maintain the windows, then you can control crime. I think of broken window policing as nickel and diming, as the petty things that can lead to bigger things. If it's the stop and frisk mentality. Granted, there's racial profiling that's included in that, but broken window policing really is about micromanaging every little thing in a community and controlling it from a policing standard. Community oversight is something. Number two is community oversight. These are great. I took the time to read through them, and I really have to commend the team that pulled this together, because I think it's fairly comprehensive. There are a couple of things that we could add to it, but I think it's a very good start. Community oversight. This is something that has been debated and talked about from President Obama down to your local mayor. This is something that needs to be implemented, where the communities have a panel that actually have policing power over the policing agencies. And the question, though, for number two is, how much teeth will these policing oversight committees actually have? Limits of the use of force. For number three, I think that's great, because we need to redefine our rules of engagement and the ability to escalate, and when is the appropriate time to escalate, and that police officers should always be de-escalating. So we saw that with Sandra Bland, where it was an unnecessary escalation, which led to an unnecessary use of force. So number three, I think, is one of the pivotal pieces in this. Number four, independently investigate and prosecute, meaning that you cannot have your own prosecutorial arm who are normally in bed because they have to be with the policing departments. You can't have them doing their own investigation, and you can't have police officers investigating their own fellow colleagues. It makes common sense. Community representation, making sure that the people who are on the forces are actually from the communities. Body cams. Number seven, training is pivotal in for-profit policing. I will drill down on number 8 in particular in the next segment. Demilitarization, I think, is absolutely key. You cannot give men in particular, but human beings in general, you cannot give them tanks and assault rifles. I mean, I know they need some, but you cannot give them military gear and not expect them to behave as if they were the military. And we saw that with Ferguson. We saw the tanks come out. We saw the body armor. We saw the hyper militarization of our police forces. And that is something that is endemic across the nation that absolutely must change. And then 10, fair police union contracts. I think making sure that the good police officers are taken care of is also key in this. So I want to applaud DeRay and Netta and the rest of the team. It was a 4-member team that came out with this, and I think it's a good start. And we'll unpack it. I'm actually writing an article about it, and we'll unpack it more. And number 8 in particular, in for-profit policing, I want to discuss that in the next segment. But the bigger point is this: if you don't know your goals, then you'll never know how you're progressing towards those goals. And I think it is high time that everyone rallies behind this, because I don't think that there's anybody in this nation who would not benefit from these simple adjustments that will have enormous ramifications, positive ramifications. It's going to change the police culture in our nation, potentially change the police culture in our nation dramatically. That is, if these policies actually have teeth and they have some enforcement behind them. I think that's very, very critical. So to say this is the juncture that we can jump off from, where we can move forward together, and that progressives should be able to look at these, and I'm talking about non-black progressives, particularly white progressives, can look at these policies and see these goals, not policies, these goals and these ideas, and really ask yourself, is there anything on this list that is not going to be beneficial to America as a whole, that's not progressive? And is it not something that we can all get behind and rally behind and push? Because if it is, then we have a road forward together that is much better than the tumultuous road. I'm sorry for the word, guys, for the tumultuous road that we just came out of, where we're still going to be infighting. That's not going to end. We're still going to disagree with each other. That's never going to end. But now we have something that we can rally behind. And when Hillary Clinton says, "What do you want?" Well, this is exactly what we want. We have 10 points. This is what we're expecting, and this is what we want, and nothing less. So where do we go from here? You answer that question for me as I get ready to take my first break. Tell me what you think about them. Tell me what you think about the policies. 857-600-0518. Leave it in the comment section. I think it's a great start, but I've been wrong before. But I'm not wrong on this. All right, folks, this is Monday morning. We're just kicking into gear. Join the conversation, 857-600-0518. This is the Benjamin Dixon Show, and we'll be back after this break.
When you're ready to lose weight, why count, track, and worry over every meal? Jenny Craig makes it simple. Just walk into a neighborhood Jenny Craig center or give us a call. You'll meet your dedicated personal consultant who helps you reach your goals. Together, you'll pick out delicious Jenny Craig foods that you'll love and design a menu that fits your life. And the best part is that you can get started losing weight right away. Don't wait any longer to take advantage of our best offer ever. Call 1-800-JENNY20 or visit jennycraig.com.
This is the sound of salmonella gyrating on your undercooked chicken. And it looks like Mom might be taking it out a little early. Don't let salmonella get funky with your chicken. On average, 1 in 6 Americans will get a foodborne illness this year. So use a thermometer to cook each type of meat to the right temperature. Keep your family safe at foodsafety.gov. Brought to you by the USDA, HHS, and the Ad Council.
On the next episode of Recipes for Disaster.
I'm making beef sliders for my friend Sandy. Nana taught me to always pull meat off the grill early so it's extra juicy.
Use a food thermometer to ensure ground beef is 160 degrees, or you could make people really sick. Sandy didn't think twice about the slider she ate until yoga class, when a nasty case of food poisoning turned her downward-facing dog into upward-moving lunch. Watch Recipes for Disaster at foodsafety.gov and learn the steps Maria unwittingly leaves out. Brought to you by the USDA, HHS, and the Ad Council.
When I grow up, I want to be a new pair of blue jeans.
When I grow up, I want to be a kid's first computer.
Warm fleece on a cold day. I want to be a bike that races around the country.
I want to be a bench on a forest trail.
When I grow up, I don't want to be a piece of garbage. And if you recycle me, I won't be.
Give your garbage another life. Recycle. Learn how at iwanttoberecycled.org. Brought to you by Keep America Beautiful and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to the Benjamin Dixon Show. If you're hearing his voice, you're hearing the voice of reason.
That's what I try to tell the folks. Welcome back. Welcome back. Okay, I want to drill down a little bit on police profiting, policing for profit on number, I believe that was number 8. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I want to drill down on that because from there I'm going to jump off into the one thing that I think should be added to this campaign, which is a little bit more ambitious than the campaign in general. But the entire for-profit policing and prison industries, that is what I think is key and pivotal for us to target. And the more I'm barreling down that road of opposition to private prisons, and the more it's becoming evident that they are so in bed with all of our politicians, that even our, I won't say beloved, but far from it, Hillary Clinton, you know what? I'll get to that in a second. Let me just drill down on what they're saying, and then the one thing that I would like added in the private policing for profit. This comes as a direct result of what the Department of Justice found in their investigation of Ferguson. In Ferguson, the policing agencies were used for the purposes of raising money. Tickets were issued, fines were levied, court fees were exorbitant, all for the purposes of filling the budget of the city. And this disproportionately affected communities of color, and it affected everybody who passed through the city of Ferguson, right? So this comes directly from that. Police should be working to keep people safe, not contributing to a system that profits from stopping, searching, ticketing, arresting, and incarcerating people. And I'm reading directly from joincampaignzero.org. In police department quotas for tickets and arrests, this is ambitious. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. This is very ambitious, and I'm glad they're going after it, because this is a practice that is across the country in every community. It hurts communities of color, but it is happening in every community. They have an incentive to stop and do everything they can to fill their quotas. And so by lifting that burden of a quota off of them, we will see a decrease in this type of practice. Limit fines for low-income people. I think that's creative. Let's see how that plays out. You can only extract so much. And this is how we see, this is not directly, it's semi-directly connected, but you see how people are hit with these insane bail amount. Poor people who have no chance of paying it. For instance, Sandra Bland was hit with $5,000 of bond that she had to pay to get out, and she did not have that money. And this directly, without question, hurts poor people. People have sat in prison for years because they could not come up with the money to get out. And so limiting fines and fees for low-income people would bring some balance to it and prevent police from taking the money and property of innocent people. All right. Now, they mentioned at the top of this the policy solution and how it regards to the profit of incarcerating people. But I didn't see much in here in terms of actually addressing the private prison industry. And I think that is something that the Black Lives Matter, Campaign Zero, and everyone involved can actually rally behind. And that's something that we need to call Hillary Clinton out on, because it's being revealed that I'm just going to read this from a particular article. Richard Sullivan of the lobbying firm Capital Counsel is a bundler for the Clinton campaign and brought in over nearly $45,000 in contributions. Sullivan is also a registered lobbyist for the Geo Group, a company that operates, and I discussed them on Friday, a number of jails, including immigrant detention centers for profit prisons. That is something that we all need to get around, because there's absolutely a clear conflict of interest. And I have not done my homework this morning with regard to Hillary Clinton's response to the claims that she's getting money from for-profit private prison industries, that she's being lobbied by them essentially, or the campaign. I did see a campaign out there with thousands, tens of thousands of signatures telling Hillary to reject that money. I haven't seen the response to that, but she needs to respond. She needs to absolutely respond, because I think one of the greatest scourges and blemishes on America modern day, we have enough in the past that we don't even have to discuss right now, but modern day blemishes is the fact that we are allowing people and businesses to make money based on how many people we can put in prison, which creates a direct conflict of interest, creates the motivation. Your profit driving motivation is how many people can you put in those beds. The power of money trickles down to influencing everyone. The police cultures that we are trying to change cannot be changed unless we get private prisons out of the fray. They must absolutely go. And so I think that is something that Black Lives Matter, Campaign Zero, Feel the Burn, anyone who's progressive and yes, progressive. And if Hillary takes this money and does not return this money and does not essentially apologize for even considering taking this money, then whatever progressive notions that she ever thought she had has to be, her progressive credentials have to be completely revoked, because that's unacceptable. The private prison industry, I don't care how many jobs it makes. I'm sorry. I know people are like, well, it creates jobs. To hell with that. It creates jobs based on how many people we can put in jail, which creates the culture that leads to broken window policing, for-profit policing, creating budgets based on how many people, how much money we can extract from people with tickets and fines. So it's not the cause of the problem. It is the result of the problem, but it is absolutely something that we must stop. It is a practice that we must stop, and something that I'm going to start championing on a regular basis. For-profit private prisons must come to an end. And there's no other way to say it, and I'll leave it at that. So that's the only thing that I think that I would want added to this campaign. Clearly stated, they mention it, but they don't clearly state how they want to go about doing it. And we go about doing it by saying something along the lines that just simply bring it to an end. There should be no federal funds going to private prisons who have a vested interest in seeing how many people they can incarcerate. Do you not see the clear conflict of interest? If the government is responsible, and do I get into the whole political philosophy of it? Let's just say that this is the responsibility of the government and no one else, because we as a collective people, our social contract, we have entrusted the government with protecting us and housing the people that they need to protect us from. That is something that we have turned over to the government. And for the government to abdicate those duties means that they are no longer doing their job. Now, that's just the political part of it, the philosophical part of it. But the implications, you realize, is that the government has a vested interest in seeing that they minimize how many people are in prison. Because the fewer people in prison from the government perspective, the less money they have to spend on it. It is fiscally conservative to have better policing practices, better rehabilitation practices, to make sure that the number of people who go back into prison, I forget, the term doesn't come to me right now, the number of people who return, recidivism, that the recidivism rate is low. The government has a vested interest in making sure that the population is healthy, and that we're not just cycling people in and out of the prisons, because it keeps our cost low. Private industries have the exact opposite motivation. Their motivation is, I can care less what societal impact this has. Put people in jail so we can make money directly from the government doing the job that the government should do, but they're no longer doing because they've abdicated their duties. And now that it's clear that Hillary is connected and benefiting from a lobbyist who also lobbies for the Geo group, right? And I'm working, I have to work through the minutia of it, because from what I'm reading I cannot, I'll get the meat of it later. But Hillary needs to absolutely make it clear and come out and make certain that we all are aware of her relationship with the Geo group and any other for-profit prison industry. I don't care. If she does not, and if she is taking money from these companies, then we need to go after Hillary like we'll go after conservatism. And for any Hillary fan that's listening, if I have I'm just reading the article and it's from a trusted source, but sometimes the articles don't give all the information. So if there's something I'm missing, please, I know you'll tweet it to me before the end of the show. All right. With that being said, I have to get off of that, because that to me is just one of those things that really ruffles my feathers. Wow. I can't believe I actually said that, but yeah, it ruffles my feathers. On to Donald Trump. Donald Trump over the weekend Donald Trump is Donald Trump, but it's important that we talk about him because he is now he has been a serious contender, whether we wanted to admit that he was or not. Donald Trump is a serious contender. Over the weekend, he talked about immigration, the 14th Amendment, and some other things. But one of the things I want to highlight about Donald Trump is the fact that conservatives really, the conservative mainstream, the insiders, the establishment, they know who Donald Trump is, which is why they don't want Donald Trump. But I don't think that conservatives, the rank and file, really know who Donald Trump is. And I'm gonna play a clip of him on Face the Nation this weekend. On yesterday, dealing with his opinion of hedge funders. And remember, on Friday, or was it Wednesday, last week, I discussed that Donald Trump, in a lot of ways, is far more progressive than any of those other candidates on the stage. And I want you to listen to what his conversation with regard to hedge funds was like on this past Sunday.
I would change it. They're paying nothing, and it's ridiculous. I want to save the middle class. You know, the middle class, the hedge funds guys didn't build this country. These are guys that shift paper around, and they get lucky. And by the way, when the market collapses like it is now, the market's going down, they're losing a fortune. Half of them, look, they're energetic, they're very smart, but a lot of them, it's like they're paper pushers. They make a fortune, they pay no tax. It's ridiculous. So,
yeah, a really short clip. But listening to Donald Trump and then seeing the same people rally behind him who would call us class warfare socialists for saying the same exact thing, I realized that the people who are rallying behind Donald Trump really don't either know who he is or don't clearly know who they are. Because here in this clip, he's talking about he wants to fix the tax rate to make hedge fund managers actually pay some money. They're not the ones that built this country. The middle class built this country, and the hedge fund managers are just are paper pushers. Later on, he says, "I like some of them I don't care about at all." You know, the normal Donald Trump bravado. But the main thing is he's targeting hedge fund managers. This coming from, forget Donald Trump now. Forget Donald Trump, because I think Donald Trump may have a compass that guides him. But in a lot of ways, Donald Trump is still a mystery to Donald Trump. So let's just forget about Donald Trump because he's figuring this out as he goes. Maybe again, he's just actually just being true to who he was way back when he said the same exact thing. But forget about Donald Trump. The people rallying behind Donald Trump, either they don't know who this guy is, they don't care who he is, or they don't know who they are. Because in any normal conversation, what he just said is exactly what Bernie Sanders, the spirit of what Bernie Sanders says on a regular basis. That what he said right there is the epitome of progressive taxation, progressivism, right? That the middle class is what built this nation. And we're having people who extract enormous amounts of wealth from the nation that pay nothing in way of taxes. If Bernie Sanders, or every time Bernie Sanders says this, they label him a socialist, communist, fascist. But now Donald Trump is saying the same exact thing. And, you know, I saw a sign, the lady said, thank Jesus for Donald Trump. You know, are they, what is it? What do you think it is? Are they just completely lost? Are they completely just chasing after any rabbit that runs in front of them, or any, you know, how is it that they can, in one election cycle, be so terrified of a socialist called Obama, who is the furthest thing from a socialist, and then in the next election cycle, they're completely behind a guy who says essentially what a democratic socialist actually has said, that Wall Street, hedge fund managers is just a proxy for Wall Street. Wall Street needs to pony up. I'm kind of at a loss for words, because I would like to, I like to deal with people who, if I'm going to debate something, I need people to be consistent. Like they're switching it up on me in the middle of the road, and I don't care. I don't mind, because it's actually what he's saying is progressive. And if that does nothing else but plants a progressive seed in the minds of people who would benefit from progressive policies, but they're so wrapped up in their ideological differences with progressivism, socially mainly, if it plants a progressive seed in their head, and then they finally wake up and say, wow, maybe what Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren have been saying for years is actually what's in our best interest, then I'm not opposed to it. But damn it, what do you really believe? How do you, in one sentence, how do you on one day call Bernie Sanders a communist for saying the same thing that your beloved billionaire from Wall Street is now saying? So that I don't have anything else to say about that. You guys have to leave some comments on that, or you could join the conversation. 857-600-0518. I think the only reasonable thing I can extract from that is the fact that they just like his attitude, and they like his attitude so much that they don't care what he says. They're going to get behind it. Honestly, I think that's what it is. If I think critically enough around, it's hard to think critically about stupidity, first of all. But if I'm to think critically about people who are acting in very nonsensical ways, I think it can all be wrapped up around the fact that they just like Donald Trump's bravado. They like his assholeryism, if I can make up a terrible word. It's the fact that he's going to say whatever the hell he wants to say, and nobody, not the media, not the establishment, not the opposition, nobody can stop him from saying these things. And in fact, saying these things are actually helping him. I think people are just absolutely in love with that, and not realizing that they are in a lot of ways getting in bed with a guy who's way, I mean, in terms of progressives, real progressives, he's a right-wing ideologue, right? But in terms of a Ted Cruz, this guy is progressive. I'm sorry. And Jeb Bush called him out in terms of his conservative bona fides, and basically saying that Donald Trump isn't a conservative. And Donald Trump, when he talks like this is not conservatism talking, not modern day conservatism talking. I think this might be, 40 years ago conservatism coming out of him, but that throws me for a loop. But when I put it in context of they just like somebody who makes them feel good, I mean, when you think of it like that, then maybe it makes perfect sense. Maybe it does. All right, folks, when I come back, I want to deal with Ted Cruz, Bobby Jindal, the 14th Amendment, and Donald Trump, who started this entire conversation about fixing, I don't know, repeal. I don't know what their conversation is on the. Anyway, we'll be back after this.
You're tuned in to the Benjamin Dixon Show. Join the conversation, 857-600-0518.
Looking for the right business opportunity? Need the right product, the right marketing plan, and the absolute best training in the world? Well, look no further. The Elite Team. Every leader in time excels. They believe the key ingredients in becoming successful in life and in business are just a keystroke away. Go to www.eliteteamsite.com. That's www.eliteteamsite.com. The Elite Team has a system in place that will move you closer to achieving your goals and dreams. Visit www.eliteteamsite.com or TonyFlemingEnterprises.com today.
College is important, but it can also be expensive. College Planning Services is a group of educators, administrators, counselors, and other licensed professionals that work together to provide the necessary services, networks, and information to reach students that are serious about getting a college education. College Planning Services partners with financial institutions, corporate sponsors, and other major players in the global market to strategize in building a pool of information regarding financial aid, scholarships, and funding information to assist students in preparing to access the essential resources to build upon their path to an educational future. Learn more at collegeplanningtoday.com and let us help you start your college career.
Do you want to take your business to the next level? Ultimate Business Solutions provides the support you need to increase your customer base and sell more products and services online. Specializing in graphic arts, web development, and internet marketing, Ultimate Business Solutions creates the face of your business. If you're looking for a custom logo, dynamic website, or popping marketing material, call Ultimate Business Solutions today at 404-704-2197 or visit www.ultimatebizsolutions.com. Ultimate Business Solutions. Let us create your future.
Do you have tax issues, owe back taxes, or need tax relief? Contact L&B Tax Service today. L&B offers you over 15 years of expertise and first-class tax service for individuals, professionals, and business owners. With nationwide service, you can easily find a location near you. Contact one of our tax professionals through our website, lbtaxservice.com. That's www.lbtaxservice.com. L&B Tax Service Incorporated. Tax professionals that you can trust.
You've tuned in to the Benjamin Dixon Show.
Welcome back. All right, folks. Let me pull up something. On Friday, I had to do the campaign for giving away my book. I did it differently, and I had the first person to tweet me at the BPD show that they wanted the book. They would get the book on Friday. I give it away every Friday. Normally, I randomly pick one. The first person to tweet me on Friday was actually, and I didn't announce it, but it was Joel Katz at Joel Katz. So, Joel, congratulations! You get a free copy of my book. And I will have that shipped out to you. And anyone else who wants to enter, I give it away every Friday. The book is God is Not a Republican. I have a great chapter in here on, basically, I just dismantle all of conservative evangelicalism and their relationship with the Republican Party. I destroy it. And yeah, that's pretty much that. You can go to facebook.com/The Benjamin Dixon Show and click on the Contact Us tab and enter for the chance to just submit your information and for a chance to win a copy of that book. I want to tie up some loose ends from last segment. Actually, some comments coming from Twitter. Hillary's accepting for-profit prison industry money. This is a comment on Twitter. And Bernie's desire to ban them shows a very stark difference between the two. Absolutely agree. Couldn't agree more. Another comment coming from Twitter. We shouldn't support Hillary as the lesser of two evils just because she is a so-called Democrat. No repeat. Real change. You know what? I don't disagree. I don't disagree. I think we should not chase after someone as the lesser of two evils within the primary season. Now, truth be told, if it comes down between Hillary Clinton and a Scott Walker and a Ted Cruz, you're damn right. I'm voting for Hillary. I'm passing out flyers. I'm doing everything I can, because that is a lesser of two evils that I just cannot. No. Absolutely not. We cannot go any further to the right than we already are. Hillary Clinton is the lesser of the two evils in that competition because she's status quo. I would rather stay status quo than to go any further to the right. But we're not there yet, folks. We are in the primary season. The primary season hasn't even kicked off in earnest. And so for people to just be laying it down saying, well, Hillary's the one that could win. And so, why support anyone else? Well, you support them now because Hillary is not a guaranteed win. And if you don't agree with some of Hillary's policies, if you don't agree with Martin O'Malley, if you don't agree with whoever you don't agree with, then go out there and campaign for the person you do agree with, because there's absolutely no reason at this juncture, no one is going to be crowned king or queen. And we have to go out there and support the people that we believe in. And after the fact, if it's a campaign between Martin O'Malley and Donald Trump, then I think we all know what we have to do, right? But let's not wait till that point. And that's a big problem with American politics. People wait until the general election to get involved when you can help make the change that actually takes place. Your vote counts more during the primary. You can actually change who is going to be the nominee. So forget about the general election. Right now is the time. And really, for me, one of the pivotal things is going to be this private prison money. If Hillary Clinton does not renounce and give back those dollars and come out completely against private prisons, then I'm going to attack. I'm going to go after her. Bernie Sanders won't ever have to run a negative ad, because I'm going to go after her like I would go after Rush Limbaugh, because it is one of the most disgusting practices that we are currently doing. It is modern day slavery, profiting off of the imprisonment of human beings. All right, let me get off of that. Let me move on. Let me give some good news though. Let me do that really quick, because I think it's more important. It's important that I just come out of that cave. This weekend, we have an interesting story. That's something straight out of a movie. 3 high school friends, all serving in the military: Anthony Sadler, Spencer Stone, and Alex Scarlatos, were on a train in France, and a terrorist attack took place. The terrorist came out of the bathroom with guns, knives, and ammunition, and in the middle of him attempting to kill people, these 3 guys and another, it sounds like about 4 or 5 people, different reports, but there was a British man involved, and then there was a French citizen who was involved who wanted to remain anonymous. I'm going to talk about him in a second, but the focus is on the 3 Americans who were on a vacation, on a trip together, and they went to high school together. They helped rescue, prevent a tragedy on the train, and they all received what is the official title? The Legion of Honor, which is an award that was started by Napoleon and is still given out, is the highest honor that France has. So all of this over the weekend, they were minding their business on a trip, stopped foiled a terrorist attack, and became heroes together. Went to high school together, became heroes together, and received the Legion of Honor together. That's something out of a movie. I want to applaud those gentlemen for what they did. Everybody loves a hero, right? I'm not above the fray on that. I love hearing stories where people actually. But anyway, I digress. There is a 4th guy involved who was a French citizen who was actually wounded and wants to remain anonymous. That, on top of the fact that the gentleman, the terrorist that was subdued, was on French radar, it's intelligence agencies' radars. There you go. The intelligence agencies had this guy on their radar. That says that maybe that 4th guy that wants to remain anonymous, maybe he was there the entire time to prevent it. Wants to remain anonymous, and he's actually the one that was wounded. Not diminishing what these guys did. The 3 guys who jumped in, you got involved, you helped subdue, you beat them up, and all those kind of things. Great, applaud you. But I'm curious about who that 4th guy was, and if he was an intelligence officer at the right place at the right time, looking for the guy who was already on the radar. That's my conspiracy theory for the day, but I think it's a pretty cool story, and I want to applaud everyone that was involved. Last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk about these more Republicans. Let me play this clip from, where is this clip, ladies and gentlemen? It's over here somewhere. Ted Cruz talking about immigration reform and his solution, if you want to call it that. All right, listen closely to Ted Cruz. And There we go.
I think birthright citizenship as a policy matter doesn't make sense. We have right now upwards of 12 million people living here illegally. It doesn't make any sense that our law automatically grants citizenship to their children, because what it does is it incentivizes additional illegal immigration. But the heart of what Donald proposed, and indeed what I've introduced, is we've got to get serious about securing the borders.
Right.
I think
So I probably should have started the show off with this, because to unpack everything that is stupid about this is going to require a good piece of time, and I only have about 5 minutes left. But let's besides the hypocrisy of it, right? So Bobby Jindal is in on this too. Let me read this. This actually a meme from Occupy Democrats. But this is something that Bobby Jindal said. He said that we have to end birthright citizenship to stop anchor babies. But Bobby Jindal is actually an anchor baby. His parents were not citizens. They came 4 months before he was born. He was a birthright citizen beneficiary, and now he wants to stop it for anyone else. That's the hypocrisy of the Republican Party on display on any regular basis. But this is the thing. They say they want to essentially change the 14th Amendment, which is, whether you know it or not, or they know it or not, is like a cornerstone in white supremacist rhetoric to undermine the birthright citizenship of freed slaves. So it plays directly to a very particular base. That's what I'm trying to get at. It plays directly to a very particular niche of people who never believed African Americans should have ever had the American attached to them. They should never have been citizens. So it plays to that base. But then not only that, it's so impractical to actually believe that we are going to not only undo the 14th Amendment or amend the 14th Amendment or whatever their solution actually says. They're just throwing that out there to play to that portion of the base, because one, it will never happen politically, but then practically, if it did happen, how would they go about verifying the citizenship of every American? See, people hear this and they love it and they rally behind it, but don't realize it's going to hurt you too. That's the thing that kills me about Republicans and conservatives in general. The fact that now they are allowing this latent bigotry, their fear and xenophobia of all things foreign, to affect their own lives in a detrimental way. Being born in a hospital in the United States of America, if they get their way, will no longer be sufficient enough evidence that you are a natural born citizen. You're going to have to go back and say, okay, not only was I born in America, but now my parents were born in America. And then if that's not enough, were their parents born in America? Once you untie the birthright citizenship component of the 14th Amendment, then you create a monstrosity of administrative duties, a new bureaucracy altogether. I mean, you're really going to explode the federal government coming from people who are all about reducing the federal government. That on top of the fact that it just won't happen politically. They're not going to be able to change the 14th Amendment and get those changes ratified by 3/4 of the states. It's just, it really is red meat, nothing more than red meat for the most intolerant of the intolerant of their base. I mean, if you have some latent bigots, then you have some real bigots that get off on this type of stuff, that talks of securing the border is not enough. They want to go back and undo or redo. They haven't even laid out a definitive plan. This is how you know they're not serious. This is how you know that they are just trying to get people all riled up on their base, because they have not laid out a definitive plan of how they're going to change the birthright citizenship status of anyone born in America. So they're just throwing this out for their base to scratch that bigoted gene that is so prevalent in the American fray today. not realizing that if this actually was accomplished, it would screw every single one of us, black, white, different, other, it doesn't matter. Every single one of us would then have to go back unless they're going to grandfather everyone in, which just creates this entire world of confusion, all based on fear. And if there's ever a precise definition of modern conservatism, that would be it, a world of confusion based on fear. I've met my time requirements for the day, folks. I could go on and on and on, but I think I've got to get out of here and get some things done. Remember, follow us on Twitter at the BPD Show. I want you to go to Spreaker and follow us. I think we got 100 followers on last week, which is a great, it was a pretty big deal for us. We're a small show. We're growing. Everybody listening, I want you to go over to YouTube and subscribe to our channel. I want you to share the video. I'm going to do my best to cut this up and give you smaller segments so you can share the portions that you want. Just got to work it into my workflow. But notwithstanding that, if you like the show and you want to support the show, consider becoming a Patreon. Go to patreon.com/the BPD Show and pledge whatever you want to pledge. If you don't have money at the end of the month, like most of us don't, then just go read our articles. Go to pathos.com. Better yet, before I give you the addresses, just Google Benjamin Dixon and go read my articles. And every click counts, every subscribe counts, you count. Thank you for your time, folks. You have a great day, and I'll see you on Wednesday.
And until that moment comes when we, the Americans, are able to accept the fact that on that continent we are trying to forge a new identity for which we need each other, that I am not a ward of America. I am one of the people who built the country. Until this moment.
And we are brothers. It's not a question of Jews or Christians or Muslims. We're all in the same boat.
We need each other.
Love is a condition so powerful. It may be that which holds the stars in the firmament.
Until this moment.
Love.
Until this moment.
Love.
Until this moment.
I come to you today to say that we can build a newer and better nation. I say we can do so, that we must do so, and that we will do so.
You've tuned in to The Benjamin Dixon Show. Visit us online at www.thebenjamindixonshow.com.